because they were told it was the right thing to do while working with food. Her explanation only prompted more mocking on social media, so it didn't work. The hashtag MissSA Challenge came up. A lot of Twitter users were using that and wearing gloves to carry out everyday tasks, you know, making fun of this. So here's my thing with this. I don't think her explanation is that crazy. I mean, people wear gloves to, you know, hand out food. Now, I get how they're mocking it, but if she was told by other people, we need you to wear gloves, you know, at this event when you're giving out food, and she just kept them on, when she then, I don't think she's in the wrong.
This goes back to our conversation earlier this week when we talked about internet trolls.
Yes.
This, like you, Tony, everybody knows if you are working anywhere within the food service industry, no matter what you're doing, you have to have gloves on. It only makes sense. So I don't know what the big deal is, and as I was reading this,
do you think they don't believe her? I mean,
no, I think that it's just internet trolls.
Yeah,
and we know what their ammo is. You know, for a moment there, I was feeling some kind of way about it until I continued to read and research. And one statement that she made changed everything for me when she said to me, the moral of the story today is that 300 kids got a proper warm lunch and that they got it with or without gloves. So, and that's what makes, that's it. Those kids got fed a hot meal, the gloves. This is just internet trolls having something to do.
But see, I see all sides of the story here, because just looking at this story, just looking at it first glance, you're thinking, oh my gosh, there is a white girl wearing gloves around black children. That looks,
at first glance,
looks racist from the very get-go. Yeah, and then you realize once you read on that this kind of stems back from 1993. 1993, South Africa actually was they elected the first black Miss South America, the first black in South America. And that was a big deal because a lot of the media outlets didn't cover that because she was black. And so they didn't want to cover that. So where the story begins, it looks as though it began in South Africa. So that's where a lot of the animosity would come from years before. But then I wanted to actually look up and see, are there any pictures of her hugging the black children without her gloves on? There's only one website. One site, BBC News, that actually put something on there.
But there is
this wasn't posted.
Well,
this was not on there. There was just one picture they grabbed a hold of, and they didn't do the research to see, is this fake news? Is this something that just automatically screams racist, you know, behavior? And so they just grab a hold of it and they run with it and it goes viral. And so that's what infuriates people and creates more racism.
Okay, but hold on. Before you go further, let me point out what you said in the beginning, which when you just look at the picture, and I contend, and I know this happens because people do those Facebook things where I'm going to do an experiment. Read this and tell me in one word how we met, right? And so many people don't even read anything. So they look at a picture or look at a post, and like you were saying, when you just look at that picture, you might assume, oh my God, look at what she's doing. And then, you know, so
but we're human. We judge immediately. Yes, we're human. That's what you do. Immediately.
Is that the fault of the journalists who are taking the pictures that they just didn't, maybe they weren't even thinking that way? Or is that the fault of people who just are making an assumption and not bothering to read or look or anything? I mean,
and that's fine to think something or to judge immediately, but to put it online and to post it and for it to go
where
viral
you go to the internet troll
and to ruin this girl's reputation. And she's possibly not a racist. Maybe she is. Maybe she's not. But that's not for us to judge.
Right. But there's also a video up of her playing with the kids, running around, a boomerang video, and she does not have the gloves on.
Right.
So if she was racist and didn't want to touch them, she would have had them on for that too. So no, I'm not buying that.
All right. Well, now moving on to something else that's getting a lot of backlash. Earlier this week, footage surfaced of an Orlando police officer pulling over Florida State Attorney Aramis Ayala in a June 19th traffic stop. It lasts for a little over a minute after two officers find out who she actually is. So by Wednesday, the video had been viewed millions of times, sparking outrage. Take a look at this.
What agency are you with?
I'm the state attorney.
All right. Thank you. Your tag didn't come back. Never seen that before. I'm sorry? Yeah. We're good now.
So it was...
We ran the tag. I've never seen it before. A Florida tag. It's never come back to anything before. So that's the reason for the stop.
What was the tag run for?
I'm sorry?
What was the tag run for?
Oh, we run tags all the time, whether it's the traffic lights and that sort of stuff. That's how we figure out if, you know, cars are stolen and that sort of thing. Also, the windows were really dark. I don't have a tint measurer, but that's another reason for the stop.
Do you guys have cards on here?
Yeah.
And there were those who actually accused the officers of racial profiling, but Ayala herself and local experts say it was a routine traffic stop that appeared to fall within the parameters of normal police procedure. So this is a very interesting thing. This is another jump to conclusion just off of what you see. What do you ladies think? Okay, and then there's radio silence. So,
Well, no, I mean, I'll tell you what I think. First of all, I figured that cops did that all the time. You know, that they're probably sitting at lights and running plates. Because I'm really
sure that's their job.
But yeah, you know, I would too if I was bored. You know, if I'm sitting at a long light, if I was a cop, I'd probably like, might as well, and you know, put in the thing. But the one thing that came up that makes me wonder if it was really racially profiling or not, if the windows were that dark, you couldn't see in the car, so could it really be racial profiling? Because, you know, when I'm driving and somebody makes me mad, and you know, you do that thing where you look over and you want to give them a look, and then you're like, oh, it's too dark, I can't see anybody. So, you know, I mean, I do buy that, you know, so I just, you know.
See, I do, because I was actually pulled over 2 times.
Yeah.
I was pulled over twice in the same car because I had the black tinting like she has on her car. So I had to, I think I'm kind of an expert on this tinting thing. I had to look up the laws. I got pulled over twice.
For tinting.
But wait a minute. Your tint dark though, Angelia.
My tint is dark.
Gangsta tint.
I do like my tint dark, but I actually do have it for a reason, for a medical reason, because I do get skin cancer. And yeah, unfortunately I do. So I actually do have it, and I have legitimate reason for that. So that's why I did the research on this many, many years ago, because 2 different police officers pulled me over. And so here are some of the laws here. This is the state of Florida, and we actually have some of the most interesting laws, because ours, the front cannot be any darker than a 28 tint, the back of 15, and the rear of 15. So mine is a 5 on mine. So that means it's the darkest that it can be. And actually,
is it dark? Is yours
super dark, and you can't see in.
And
you can't see in, and that's what this state attorney had actually. And so the police officers that pulled me over were both very nice and very explanatory to say, you know what, this makes us actually ask and think, who's in that car?
Because that's probably what those cops
we can't pull up next to you, and we can't see in. This is actually a problem for you not being able to see out as well. And so it's on both sides of the coin, the black tinting.
Well, and if they couldn't see in the car and they're sitting at a light and they're like,
they're wondering what's going on.
That it wasn't registered to anybody. Which
That's the part I don't buy. I am waiting for the story to come out.
Was it a state car? Is it a state?
It was a white Ford Focus. It was unmarked, so I'm not sure if it was a state.
Yeah.
But you know, I think it was a state car, because when she handed him her license, he said, "Which department do you work for?" So how did he know? So that must have meant that maybe it was. But I'm waiting for more to come out about that tag. It's extremely unfortunate, and y'all know, me being the resident black, I am going to say it was racial profiling. It's right now, racial profiling is so, it's like they're trying to make it the new normal. And we as African Americans are trying to fight that. Racial profiling. It happens every single day.
If you couldn't see into that car, how do you say it's racial profiling?
Yeah.
They claim they could not see into the car.
Okay, so you're not necessarily believing.
Right. She made a comment that said, and we're going to go here to a screen. She actually made a comment saying that the tint was completely legal. The first thing she says, as you can see, to be clear, I violated no laws. The license plate, while confidential, was and remains properly registered. The tint was in no way a violation of Florida law.
Okay, but
I have legal tint on my car right now,
and I'm
mad as heck because I feel like you can see in my car too much, but because I'm old and blind, I really needed that level. So if her tint was legal, how was it too dark for them to see inside to see who it was?
I don't know. Well, I mean, you're saying yours is legal, and yours to me
mine
is
is not legal. Mine is not legal.
Yours
I actually have a prescription to tint mine that dark.
You can get prescriptions
I actually do. I do, because that's how you make it legal, and you have to file it with the state, because you have to make it, you know, legal, because it's illegal to have a 5%. So. Yeah, you learn something new every day.
I think we're going to hear more about this, because I think that Sister Girl plans to do something about this. She
well,
handled it very calmly.
Absolutely. She's the person who,
she's the attorney, she can do what she wants.
She'll go and, you know, she'll pursue it. If I were her and I felt it was unjustified and I was getting racially profiling, I would definitely pursue that.
All right. Well, we're going to switch gears here now to talk about money and relationships. A recent survey found that more than 1 in 5 women say they would not date someone who made less money than them. However, men, they said they didn't seem to have such an issue with an off-balance income. Hashtag really. Okay, so ladies, I'm going to throw it out there. When it comes to you dating your booze, does the amount of money they make really does it really matter?
Not me, not to me. I don't care if they make less at all.
I knew
Yeah.
it.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
I'm not going to say no just for TV. I'm going to be organic and say,
But here's the thing, Angelia. Okay, let's say that happens because, of course, there are millions of women who have this. He gets sick. He can't work.
Well, that's different.
Okay,
if you're already in the relationship with somebody, you've already established a relationship and foundation.
Hold on. You're going into the relationship because that is something that is important to you, that he makes more money. Now he's sick or disabled. Maybe he dies. Maybe he loses his job.
Well,
just
if he
gets
dies,
fired.
then oh well, next.
But just gets fired, so all of a sudden he's not. So what does that mean? Does that mean you are not going to dump him because the premise that you started the relationship is no longer there?
That's totally different. I mean, when you're beginning a relationship, what are we beginning a relationship on? We're beginning it on looks, superficial things. So that only comes into play because you need to have a foundation of a relationship. And I'm not getting into a relationship and going to build upon something of where somebody doesn't have financial stability.
Well, you're not.
If you
No, she
don't
didn't
have
say
it.
The question
You're
isn't
going to take
stability.
me down
the question
with
is
you.
if they make
I'm not
more
doing
money
it.
than you. The question is not financial stability. The question is if they make more money than you.
If you make more money and you have financial stability and you have what we were reading in this article was about credit scores and credit scores.
But the question still is, would you date someone who makes less than you? Isn't that your question?
Yeah.
The answer is still no.
Okay, but then it's okay if you are in a relationship and they lose their job or get fired if they then make less, or would you dump them?
No, and there's a creditscore.com dating site.
Oh,
You will not answer that question.
I found it when I was looking the story up, and it's hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
Hilarious.
To me, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get my 2 cents in. It doesn't matter. Baby, we can struggle and come up together. And that's going to make our love a whole lot stronger. So I don't mind.
And I'm not picking on you because a lot of women are like
I'm
you.
good. I'm strong.
So, all right. Well, coming up next, could drinking coffee be the secret to living longer?
Yes.
We'll tell you why. You might want to have another cup of Joe even now.
Nah.